محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. خلاص. Almost over. This morning and tomorrow, and it's probably the end of it. Wallahu alam, as far as we can tell, it's almost certain. I have two more scheduled things to talk to you about, and if for some miracle Friday is not Eid, then we'll figure something out for that day. For today, I want to talk about, I've talked about a lot of attributes of the Prophet ﷺ. I can't even count them. There's many of them. We went through over 27 different characteristics of him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And today, I want to talk about how he treated us, alayhi salatu wasalam. I talked about how he treated his companions, his wives, his children, how he treated non-Muslims, how he treated people who were sinning, how he treated children and animals, how he treated everything, alayhi salatu wasalam. I want to talk about how he treated us, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, as peculiar as that may sound. He says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ فِيكُمْ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. And know that amongst you is Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And even though he is physically not here, alayhi salatu wasalam, in a lot of aspects, in a lot of ways he is. And that's something worthy of always remembering. فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ حَتَّى يُحَكِّمُوكَ فِيمَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ ثُمَّ لَا يَجِدُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَرَجًا مِمَّا قَضَيْتَ وَيُسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا. Swear to you by your Lord that none of them will ever fully achieve iman until they accept your rulings amongst them, and they find nothing in their hearts but love as you speak to them and give them Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's teachings. يروي الإمام الطبراني بسند جيد عن أبي هريرة قال, he said, خرج علينا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم ذات يوم فقال ألستم تؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر. The Prophet ﷺ came out one day of his rooms, and we were sitting in the masjid and we were talking. He said, do you not believe in Allah and the hereafter? فقلنا بلى يا رسول الله. We said, yes, of course we do, يا رسول الله. فقال فإن القرآن طرفه بيد الله وطرفه بأيديكم تمسكوا به فإن فعلتم فلن تضلوا ولن تهلكوا بعده أبدا. He came out and he said, do you believe in Allah? Said, yes. Then the Quran, it's like a rope. One end is in the hand of God, and the other end is in yours. And as long as you hold on to it, you will never go astray, and you will never fail, ever. That's what he left us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He made sure that the Quran made its way to us. That was his legacy. That was his mission, alayhi salatu wasalam. Because if you hold on to it, then that connection will never die. As long as the Quran is there, it's your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The moment you drop the Quran, you have nothing. That's it. You have nothing that you don't know anymore. As long as you hold on to it, that connection between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is alive. يروي الإمام أبو داود forgive me عن العرباض بن سارية قال وعظنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ليلة موعظة بليغة وجلت منها القلوب وذرفت منها العيون. العرباض بن سارية says that one day the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام sat and he gave us a reminder. People's hearts shook and the eyes filled with tears. فقلنا يا رسول الله كأنها موعظة مودع. It seems like you're giving us your final words. فماذا تأمرنا? So what do you command us to do? If this is truly closer to your end, and it was towards the end of his life, عليه الصلاة والسلام, then what do you tell us to do? What do you command us? فقال إني تركتكم على البيضاء ليلها كنهارها لا يزيغ عنها بعدي إلا هالك. I have left you with the clear one. المحجة, and hadith المحجة البيضاء, something that will be used as a standard. بيضاء meaning it's clear. It's clear, there's nothing wrong with it. It's perfect, it's divine the way it is. ليلها كنهارها, meaning it's night and day are the same. I mean, there's no ambiguity. It's clear. You know what you're supposed to do. لا يزيغ عنها بعدي إلا هالك. The only person that will go astray or miss their note or not be able, or deviate from the clarity of it are the ones who are going to be punished on the day of judgment. والعياذ بالله. يروي الإمام ابن حبان. So he left us عليه الصلاة والسلام on something very clear. Had we needed him sallallahu alaihi wasallam here physically, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wouldn't have taken him away. By far, there is no bigger musibah that this ummah has ever gone through more than losing him, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is the ijma' of the Sahaba and the ulama since the beginning, since the day he passed away. No musibah, there is no catastrophe that occurred upon this ummah that is worse than the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam's passing. Umar al-Khattab will say, every time something bad happens to me, I remember four things. One of the four things he remembers is the death of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam. That whatever happened is not worse than the day he died, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And that feeling is real. If you truly love him, alayhi salatu wasalam, you understand what he was to us, then you understand that not having him here, alayhi salatu wasalam, is the biggest loss. But he left us with what we needed. He didn't walk away before he left us with exactly what we needed to do our jobs. Ibn Hibban narrates that Aisha radiallahu anha says, لما وجدت من رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم يوما طيب نفس. One day I saw him, I was with him, and I felt he was in a good mood. فقلت يا رسول الله ادعو لي. Oh Allah, O Prophet of Allah, make dua for me. فقال اللهم اغفر لعائشة ما قدمت وما أخرت وما أسرت وما أعلنت. Oh Allah, forgive Aisha all that she did before in the far past, and all that she did lately, all that she did publicly or openly, all that she did secretively. قال فضحكت حتى سقط رأسي في حجري من الضحك. I laughed until my head was in my lap in laughter. She put her head in her lap. فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم يبتسم, so he smiled. فقال يا عائشة أيسرك دعائي? Does my dua make you happy? فقالت وما لي لا يسرني دعاؤك. And what's wrong with me that I wouldn't find your dua something that makes me happy? فقال يا عائشة والله إن هذا لدعائي لأمتي في كل صلاة. I swear to you, I make this dua for my ummah every single prayer. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Alayhi salatu wassalam. He says alayhi salatu wassalam في حديث إمام مسلم قال لكل نبي دعوة مستجابة تعجلها في الدنيا. Every prophet is given one dua where the response is immediate. It's instantaneous, exactly what they asked for at the moment they asked for it. Every prophet is given one. All of them, they asked for it at some point in dunya. إلا أنا فقد تركتها شفاعة لأمتي يوم القيامة. I've left it as an intercession that I will perform on the day of judgment. ينالها منهم من مات لا يشرك بالله شيئا. It will be given to those who passed away and they do not associate anyone with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a lot of choices he made in his life, he was making them thinking about us. He would say, لولا أن أشق على أمتي لأمرتكم بالسواك مع كل صلاة. If it wasn't for the fact that I was scared to make this hard for my ummah later, I would tell them that you must use miswak with each prayer, because he thinks, alayhi salatu, or he believed, or he taught us that it's important to, your hygiene, your physical hygiene is important, even the hygiene of your mouth. He wouldn't eat garlic, live garlic, alayhi salatu wasalam, or onions, or anything that could cause your mouth to have a bad scent, because he said, I speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and I speak to the malaika, and it's not appropriate for me to have such a scent. And he taught us to do the same, but he used to choose what he would command us to do, alayhi salatu wasalam, based on how difficult it would be for us. He wouldn't come out every night in Ramadan for Taraweeh just for one reason, so that wouldn't turn into an obligation. Because he knows, alayhi salatu wasalam, at some point scholars are going to go and interpret his actions, interpret his life. If he did something every single night, every single year, it was going to be interpreted as an act of obligation. And then it would be very difficult for Muslims to get through Ramadan if they had to come for Taraweeh every single night. I mean, it's too difficult. This is a sunnah, it's a beautiful thing, but if you don't make it, it's not, you didn't commit a sin. Alayhi salatu wasalam would tell the Sahaba not to ask him questions. This in the Quran, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تسألوا عن أشياء إن تبد لكم تسؤكم. Don't ask about things that if you know the answers of it, it'll bother you. And the reason that he tell them not to ask him questions, because if he answered alayhi salatu wasalam, that answer was going to be carried later on. It would be carried for generations to come, and then the generations to come would be stuck with an answer that was very contextual and served a certain group of people at a certain time, and then we wouldn't be able to move around. We couldn't maneuver anymore. So the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam was specifically asked not to ask questions, so that we would be able later on to have the sa'ah and the rahmah that we have in our deen. يروي الإمام مسلم عبد الله بن عمرو بن العاص قال تلا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Abdullah ibn Amr tells that the Prophet عليه الصلاة was reciting آية إبراهيم رب إنهن أضللن كثيرا من الناس فمن تبعني فإنه مني ومن عصاني فإنك غفور رحيم. Oh Allah, oh my Lord, these idols have led a lot of people astray. Those who follow me, they are a part of me, and those who disobey me, indeed, you are the most forgiving and the most merciful. Then he would recite, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, إن تعذبهم فإنهم عبادك وإن تغفر لهم فإنك أنت العزيز الحكيم. If you punish them, they're your servants, and if you forgive them, indeed, you're the unfathomable and you are the all-wise. Because these two verses in the Quran, they talk about prophets making a dua for those who didn't follow them. These two ayat in the Quran have within them two prophets asking Allah for some form of forgiveness for those who did not follow them, for those who refused their message in ways that are equally beautiful but different. So he recited those two verses, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. ثم رفع يديه, then he put his hands to the sky. قال اللهم أمتي أمتي, oh Allah, my nation, وبكى, and he started to cry. قال فأرسل الله إليه جبريل. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to him Jibreel. يقول يا جبريل سل محمدا ما يبكيه والله أعلم بحاله. Go ask Muhammad why he's crying, and Allah knows why he's crying. فيأتيه جبريل فيقول يا محمد يا رسول الله إن ربك يقرئك السلام ويسألك ما يبكيك. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends his salams and asks you, why are you crying? فأخبره النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ويخبره, he tells him what's going on. فيعود جبريل إلى ربه فيخبر ربه والله أعلم بحاله. Jibreel goes back and he tells Allah, but Allah already knows. فيقول يا جبريل عد إلى محمد فأخبره أننا سنرضيه في أمته ولا نسوءه. Send him back and tell him that we are going to satisfy him regarding his ummah, and he will not be brokenhearted. وهذا مصداق قوله وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْطِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى. And this is the meaning of the verse, that he will give you until you are satisfied. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Imam al-Baydawi in his tafsir, even though the narration, I don't know what authenticity it has because I couldn't find anyone who actually came up with anything regarding it, but he has it in his tafsir, and I've always thought it was really interesting, where he looks at Surah Taha, and as he's going through the different options of what the two letters could mean, he points out one of the possibilities. At least that's what he sees in the book, in the tafsir. You can go back and see his long explanation of it. That one of the wujuh, one of the meanings that he believes for this word is that it comes from the origin of ta'ha, and then the hamza was removed for ease. And ta'ha in Arabic means put your step on the floor. And he refers in the tafsir to the fact that Prophet ﷺ would make dua for his ummah for so long that he would stand on the tip of his toes as he would make dua. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell him ta'ha, meaning put your foot on the ground. Stand on the ground. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And you can find the story in the tafsir of Imam al-Baydawi. يروي الإمام مسلم عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال, the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام left to the مقبرة of Uhud, to the cemetery of Uhud. فقال السلام عليكم دار قوم مؤمنين أنتم السابقون وإنا إن شاء الله بكم لاحقون وددت لو رأيت إخواني. He gives the salams that he always gives to the martyrs of Uhud. He did this every week عليه الصلاة والسلام, from the day they died until the day he died عليه الصلاة والسلام. Would go and give salams to them and tell them, you have went ahead of us and we are following you soon enough. And then he would say, at this time, I wish I had seen my brothers. فقالوا يا رسول الله أولسنا إخوانك, or are you not your brothers? فقال أنتم أصحابي, you're my companions. وإنما إخواني قوم يؤمنون بي لما يأتوا بعد. There are people who are believing me, but they have not come yet. فقالوا يا رسول الله كيف تعرف من أمتك من لم ترهم? How do you know the people from your ummah that you hadn't seen? فقال أرأيتم لو كان لرجل خيل غر محجلة في خيل دهم بهم أيعرفهم? If a man owned horses and he had horses that had bright manes and bright colors amongst horses that were very dark colors, would he not know the difference between the two of them? فقالوا بلى. فقال وكذلك أمتي يأتون يوم القيامة غرا محجلين من أثر الوضوء فأعرفهم وأنا فرطهم على الحوض. In my ummah on the day of judgment they come because of wudu, they're bright, their limbs are bright. الخيل الغر المحجلة is the one that have the ends of their feet, and there's certain types of horses where they have a color, but then their hands and feet are white. And the Arab thought this was like the most beautiful horse in the world. And the Prophet ﷺ says that's how his ummah comes. And then he says, وَأَنَا فَرَطُهُمْ عَلَى الْحَوْضِ. فَرَطُهُم means I am ahead of them, waiting for them. I am ahead of them, and I'm waiting for them on the hawd. On that day, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he's standing on the basin, he will call his ummah, alayhi salatu wasalam. He will call his ummah to come drink first from his hand, alayhi salatu wasalam. And those who did not deviate, and those who actually saw through what he taught, will be given that honor to drink from his hand, alayhi salatu wasalam. شَرْبَةً لَا يَظْمَؤُونَ بَعْدَهَا. They drink something that they will never ever feel or experience thirst ever again for the rest of their lives. He commonly would use this word with the Sahaba, alayhi salatu wasalam. You can follow the phrase like through the books of hadith, where he would say, فَرَطُكُمْ عَلَى الْحَوْضِ, almost to the point where it's as if people would want to spend time with him, hang out, chill, go out and do something. Tell them, عَلى الْحَوْضِ. Our appointment is on the basin. Meet me there. Meet me there, and then we can do whatever you want. Well, we can spend whatever time you want to spend together. We don't have time right now. We're way too busy. We meet, our appointment is the basin. Do not be late. Do not come with something that's going to cause you to be pulled away. Don't end up held behind because you are too busy doing something else. I'm there ahead of you. I'm waiting for you. Meet me at the basin. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is what he was saying. This is what he was teaching. You meet me there. يروي Imam Ahmad عن رجل من الصحابة, I can't remember who narrated this hadith, in a collection of Imam Ahmad with Sanad Sahih. قال تغدينا مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. We had our food, we had like lunch with the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام. We ate with him. فقال أبو عبيدة ibn al-Jarrah, he was with us, amongst one of the high status Sahaba is sitting there. فقال يا رسول الله هل أحد منا خير منا آمنا بك وجاهدنا معك. Will anyone of this ummah be better than us? We believed in you and we fought with you. فقال نعم قوم يكونون من بعدي يؤمنون بي ولم يروني يود أحدهم لو رآني بماله وأهله. There are people who will come after me. They'll believe in me even though they never saw me. But any of them would be willing to give up his wealth and his family if he was just able to sit with me for a moment. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That yes, there will be people coming after you. That will be. Now, most scholars see this to be an equivalency, not a higher status. But he meant, he was trying to teach Abu Ubaidah something, that the khair does not end with you, and does not end with this generation of people. The khair will continue for many generations after, and people who will believe in me are the people, and people who believe in me and love me will love me sometimes even more than some people who saw me and lived with me will. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The hadith that I'll end this with, inshallah ta'ala, is the hadith of the shafa'ah. When the Prophet ﷺ on the Day of Judgment, after people are standing for thousands and thousands of years, they go to the different prophets of God. They will go to Adam, they'll go to Nuh, they'll go to Ibrahim, they'll go to Musa, they'll go to Isa. And they'll ask them for intercession. Please intercede. So Allah begins the hisab, begins judgment. And all of them will apologize and say, we can't, we had made mistakes. And Isa will apologize and he won't call a mistake, alayhi salam. And then they'll go to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, they'll ask him to do that, so he will. The way he'll do it is he'll get up alayhi salatu wasalam, فَيَسْجُدُ تَحْتَ الْعَرْشِ فَيَفْتَحُ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ مِنَ الْمَحَامِدِ مَا لَمْ يَفْتَحْهُ عَلَى عَبْدٍ قَبْلَهُ وَلَا يَفْتَحُهُ عَلَى عَبْدٍ بَعْدَهُ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands him and he prostrates under Allah's throne. And he praises Allah in ways that no one has ever praised him like that before, and no one will ever say those words again. You'll praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya Muhammad, irfa' ra'sak, wasal tu'tah, washfa' tushaffa'. Raise your head, hadith al-Bukhari. Raise your head and ask, you will be given, and intercede, and it will be accepted. فَيَقُولُ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَآلِهِ وَسَلَّمْ أُمَّتِي أُمَّتِي. And the first thing he says is, my nation, my nation. First thing he says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the first word, قَالْ فَيَحِدُّ لِي رَبِّي حَدًّا. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows me, after hisab is done, He grants me a certain number of people. فَأَشْفَعُ لَهُمْ فَيَخْرُجُونَ مِنَ النَّارِ. And I intercede and they leave Jahannam. ثُمَّ أَعُودُ فَأَرَى مِنْ أُمَّتِي فِي النَّارِ. Then I look and I see people from my nation still in the hellfire. By the way, all living people on this planet are from his nation, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Every living human being, after he was given prophecy, is from his nation. Some of them responded to his call and some of them didn't. Some of them responded and did well and some of them didn't. But we're all his ummah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So he looks into the hellfire and he sees more. فَيَسْجُدُ فَيَشْفَعُ. And then he prostrates again and he intercedes again. فَيَحُدُّ لِي رَبِّي حَتَّى, he says, and he gives me another group of people. فَأَشْفَعُ لَهُمْ, I intercede on their behalf. وَيَخْرُجُونَ مِنَ النَّارِ, and he does that 3 or 4 or 5 times. And then the final time, يقال له ما بقي في النار إلا من حبسهم القرآن ووجب عليهم الخلود. The only people left in Jahannam are the ones who the Quran is holding back because of the verses and the meanings, and they are indeserving of a long stay. فأكون آخر من يدخل الجنة بعد فتح الباب بعد آخر رجل من أمة. After he enters, alayhi salatu wasalam, he intercedes, he enters Jannah after he makes sure everyone goes in front of him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All those who he had the option, was given the permission to intercede on their behalf, he makes sure they enter before him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that's how he treated us, alayhi salatu wasalam. That's how he felt about us. He cried for us, alayhi salatu wasalam. He made dua for us, alayhi salatu wasalam. He ensured that we would have a way of life that was appropriate and that was flexible and that would allow us to work. And he made sure that it was clear. And alayhi salatu wasalam thought about us. He talked about us. He hoped to meet us. And on the day of judgment, he plans to intercede on our behalf, alayhi salatu wasalam. Maybe a little bit of love to be shown back. He says, alayhi salatu wasalam, في hadith Muslim, ما من أحد يسلم علي إلا رد الله علي روحي فرددت عليه السلام. No one will send their salams to me except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have it reach my spirit and I will send salams back to them. هذا هو حبيبكم صلوا عليه اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خيرا بارك الله فيكم. ختمة إن شاء الله is tonight after during Taraweeh إن شاء الله.